Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Mark Steiner. Great to have you all with us once again. Well, W.E.B. Du Bois said that the problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line. And I've maintained in things I've written in other places that the problem of the 21st century is understanding the depth of racism in our society. Nothing brought this home to bear as clearly as the responses of Governor Ralph Northam to the right wing exposing him in blackface when he was a student in college. He could have used this moment to help our nation wrestle with racism and how it affects us all. But on Friday, hours after the photo surfaced, he said this, kind of admitting something.
That photo and the racist and offensive attitudes it represents does not reflect that person I am today. I cannot change the decisions I made, nor can I undo the harm my behavior caused then and today. But I accept responsibility for my past actions, and I am ready to do the hard work of regaining your trust.
Instead, he used excuses to deny that this was him in blackface, or that he enjoyed the racist humor in his youth. Blackface has an ugly history in our country, from its roots to denials of people like Megyn Kelly and her racist utterings, to all those who do not want to come to grips with this moment that we're facing right now in the United States. It should open us up for a greater discussion. Northam likely made the situation even worse when he gave a lengthy press conference, danced around denials. Check this out.
Right now, I am simply asking for the opportunity to demonstrate beyond a shadow of a doubt that the person I was is not the man I am today. That same year, I did participate in a dance contest in San Antonio, in which I darkened my face as part of a Michael Jackson costume. I look back now and regret that I did not understand the harmful legacy of an action like that. It is because my memory of that episode is so vivid that I truly do not believe I am in the picture in my yearbook. I believe this moment can be the first small step to open a discussion about these difficult issues and how they contribute to the greater racism and discrimination that defines so much of our history.
So, should Northam resign? What do we do as a society with this moment? How do we use it to grow as a people and as a vehicle to fight the racism that plagues us all in this entire nation and world, that was born here of the slave trade and still is in our bones? We are joined by Real News executive producer Eddie Conway and Jacqueline Luqman, who is editor-in-chief of Luqman Nation. Good to have you both with us here at the Real News.
Thanks.
Thanks so much.
So I'm curious what both of you watching this think should be the response. I mean, A, do you think he should resign? And B, what should be the overall response? Jackie?
I think his initial response was on the right track, but of course he stopped short of saying the magic words, "What I did was racist."
Right.
So if he had done that, if he had stuck with what he said Friday, yes, that was me in the picture. What I did was racist, whether I was in blackface or whether I was in the Klan outfit. That was wrong. It was racist. I apologize that I did it. And we can start a dialogue. We can have a conversation about why young white men in the South felt like that was appropriate at another time. But yeah, I'm acknowledging right now that that was racist, it was wrong, and I'm sorry that I did it. I think we wouldn't be having this conversation about Northam resigning, but that's not what he did.
I completely agree with that. Eddie, what's your take?
Well, I guess my gut feeling is that he's no different than George Washington or Thomas Jefferson or Woodrow Wilson or Strom Thurmond, Bill Clinton, and you can go right up the list to Trump. It's not a case of blatant racism as much as it is white supremacy and capitalism. And it's the way in which the ruling class have decided to divide and conquer the world, buffering themselves with the white population against populations of all other colors, to disrupt and destroy any possibility of us developing unity. And so some people are more obvious in their Klan outfits. Other people are more hidden in their blackface. And then some of them are even more hidden in their smiley, horn-blowing, sunglass-wearing face. It's all the same in America, for me.
So let me just take a step back for just a quick second. I mean, the history of blackface in this country from the 19th century on. I mean, there are examples I was looking at from 1978 where TV did a whole dance around blackface, and you had Megyn Kelly, and you've got people from the woman from what's it called, Oranges, what's the name of the show? Oranges, the New Black.
Yeah.
When she came out in blackface. I mean, to this instance. And to other instances of parties kind of around the country in colleges with white kids dressing up in blackface. To me, it just shows, either how clueless a lot of people are in this country, or how deeply racist they are and don't even know that they're racist, who think this is humor, this is a joke. I mean, that's why I wish Northam had said, done something to admit that what he did was wrong and racist, so people could actually wrestle with this incident and really kind of deal with what it means and help people not do it anymore and find out what that means internally. Am I being too idealistic here?
No, I don't think you're being too idealistic, but I think we're kind of missing how deeply ingrained and conditioned the whole idea of blackface as sort of the normal representation of Black people is in this country in particular. I can't speak to other countries because I don't know about the popular culture of other countries, but I grew up watching cartoons in this country. And I remember cartoons where Black people and people in Africa, African people were portrayed in blackface, and not just these benign kind of, you know, hey, this is a white person in or a white cartoon character with a blackface on, but in the worst, racist, stereotypical portrayals in children's cartoons. The same people that did Bugs Bunny were doing these kinds of cartoons with these blackface portrayals. So it has been ingrained, the mocking of people, the dehumanizing of a people, blackface as a way to convey these are the kinds of people that Black people are in cartoons, in product ads. Remember the product ads for like household cleaners, cigarettes, toothpaste, everything. If an actual Black person was not portrayed on the product as a servant or a slave, then it was an image in blackface with thick lips and bug eyes, with a big old smile, and a certain set of behaviors came along with that people knew. There was no one in American society, I honestly believe this, who did not understand that blackface was an intentional degradation of who Black people really were. And I would be a little bit less harsh toward Northam if his behavior was from, I guess, 1930, maybe, but we're talking about 1985. Okay, let's be serious now. The cartoons I'm talking about were aired in the 40s, 50s, I think.
So does that mean you're going to give Al Jolson and Fred Astaire a pass?
No, they don't get a pass because nobody gets the pass in this. I understand that we advance in knowledge and understanding with every generation, and some things are more acceptable in later generations than they were before. Even though they were always done, they just become less acceptable. But I also don't believe that people don't know that this is wrong. I believe that people inherently, intrinsically, somewhere in their being, know that this is wrong. This is why it's always presented as a joke. It's entertainment. They do it to make white people laugh, but they know they wouldn't want to do it in front of Black people. And if they do, they know that Black people are powerless to really respond. But for Northam to have done this in 1985, I was a junior in high school in 1985. So I can't even give him the benefit of being from that bygone era where this behavior was more acceptable. Everyone knew that blackface was blatantly racist in 1985.
But racism has always been alive and well. I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead, Eddie.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I want to add to that because it's not a United States of America phenomenon.
True.
It's in fact, it goes back to the Dutch. It goes back to the Dutch East Indies. It goes back to the beginning of colonialism. Right now, if you go to Amsterdam, every Christmas they have a black man,
right,
a white man, in fact, coming off a ship with blackface, giving out candy
right.
to little white children, and it's acceptable behavior.
There's a battle against that in Holland.
In
the Netherlands, people want
yes,
to see that
yes,
stopped.
Yes. And so you're looking at the 15th century. You're looking at way before they even started it here in the 18th, 19th century. You're looking at other places in your, and that's why I still say it's about white supremacy. It's about capitalism. It's about justifying robbing and looting people all over the planet and degrading them in such a way where it's okay. And the harm done in terms of like the Black Santa in Harlem, say, for instance, is that this is where your wealth come from. This is where your riches come from. We're robbing these people. And we're having a Christmas celebration every year in front of everybody, you know. So it's late coming to America, but it goes back to capitalism. It goes back to white supremacy. It goes back to a ruling class that wanted to create the narrative that it's okay to exploit these people.
So, you know, it's funny thing we say, because you say the Netherlands, and that's what Harlem was named after. Mm-hmm. And the celebration in the Netherlands around this blackface is also Harlem.
Yeah,
the connections are just, you know.
Yeah, but go ahead.
So the question is, and this is not a question that I think Black Americans have to answer. People always want to throw this to Black folks and saying, you know, what do we do? What do we do? But let me ask a question similar to that. So I wrote this piece, and in this piece I told a story about what happened in Chicago in 1968 with the Young Patriots, who were a revolutionary Appalachian white group in uptown Chicago. They made a coalition with the Black Panther Party and then Brown Berets, Young Lords, and created the original Rainbow Coalition. A couple of Panthers were up in uptown Chicago. Fred Hampton, if I remember correctly, was one of them. And in the room, talking about going on this demonstration against police brutality and slum landlords. And a older white guy in the back of the room got up and said, and he used the N-word, he said, if that's what these N's are saying, I'm marching with them. And the Panthers walked up and hugged him and said, brother, we're walking together. He ended up becoming a fighter for an interracial coalition and to deal with racism in his own community. So I say that story to say, so when these things happen to us in this country, what our response should be, what people need to do around this. I mean, this is what the governor blew by not doing it, admitting to this and wrestling with this, for the public to wrestle with this as a white man, wrestling this with the white people in Virginia. So, I mean, what do we take from this? Where do we go with this politically?
Well, I mean, go ahead, Jackie. I'm sorry.
No, I apologize. I think that people always, you're right, Mark, people always pose this question of Black people like we are the ones who are supposed to be to have the answers and do the reaching out.
Right.
And this history of the Black Panther Party and the Young Patriots and the Rainbow Coalition is really, really interesting because people always, I think, mischaracterize the Young Patriots as a racist organization, and that wasn't true. There were racists in the organization, but the organization itself didn't exist to perpetuate racist ideas.
Right.
So that is important because these were white people who were also oppressed by the same capitalist system, who were willing to be in the room to have the conversation with Black people who were oppressed by the same capitalist system. Northam didn't set that example of being willing to be in the room with Black people and say, you know what? We get this wrong. I got this wrong then. We keep getting this wrong. We're going to be here and hash it out together.
Eddie?
For me, it's, as Jackie is saying, it's not our responsibility. We're struggling around the issues that we need to struggle around for our survival. And I think other people, they'll come to that same realization when they realize that the things that Trump do to disenfranchise us from health care, social programs, impacts them. It disenfranchises them. It takes money out of their mouths. It takes food away from their children. Once they realize that, and they have to come to that realization, then they can join in with the struggle that we have been having instead of having their own separate struggle across town and think we're part of the problem. We're not part of the problem. Their problem is they don't recognize what the problem is.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so while Northam should probably resign, this goes a lot deeper than just his resignation as governor of Virginia. And I want to thank Jacqueline Luqman and, of course, my comrade and friend here, Eddie Conway, for being with us today. Hear the real news. Thank you all for watching. I'm Mark Steiner. Take care.